Our next guest went to nearby Emory University, where I can only assume he borrowed ideas from fellow students. He's known for asking thought-provoking questions that he supposedly heard at his local deli or on other TV shows. One of the sharpest minds in the NFL media, if not the most original.
Come on!
Say hello to Peter Schrager.
I'm the best. Yeah, love it.
Peter is the co-host of the NFL Network's Good Morning Football. Not really a co-host because there's 4 people on there. So he's a 4-host.
Want to get some context here, Dan?
It's 7 a.m. Eastern. Wait for the introduction. Super Bowl Sunday, 8.5-hour edition of NFL Game Day Morning airs at 9 a.m. Eastern on the NFL Network. Welcome, Peter Schrager.
Happy to be here.
It's good to. Now,
I'm here for my roasting. Let's go.
Okay. All righty. Let me let the audience in case they're not aware of what happened. Tragically. Yeah. And then we'll move on after this. But, we came up with a poll question. It started out with Julian Edelman's greatness. And then Paulie goes, hey, what about, if you did Calvin Johnson or Julian Edelman, whose career would you want? So we put it up and we talked about it. And we, decided who we wanted. So then all of a sudden, Paulie goes, hey, Peter Schrager just put this up and he's taking credit for this. He said, oh, hey, just thinking out loud. What about whose career would you take, Julian Edelman's or Calvin Johnson? So we started crushing him on the show.
Social media is usually nice.
Yeah. And so he's nice enough to come on. And then he said that he got it from his local deli.
Guy in the deli in New York.
Yeah. So
these guys exist. They just want to talk sports all day long. And he said to me, hey, let me ask you. Let me ask you. I was like, what do you got?
And so you didn't know, but you took it and then kind of made it yours.
Here's the deal. I listen to the Dan Patrick Show daily, so I am sort of guilty on this one that you caught me in one episode where apparently I wasn't listening. I said on Twitter, guys, who would you rather have as a career, Calvin Johnson or Julian Edelman? And the responses on Twitter weren't like, Julian, Calvin. It was, you stole that from Dan Patrick. That's all it was. And then the Dan Patrick army came out in force, and I would call them a mob, an angry mob. The fan base for this show is legit. I will just say that. I had to turn off Twitter, and I eventually deactivated.
Now, did you pick between Julian Edelman or Calvin Johnson?
Yeah, and my answer apparently wasn't a popular one. I said, I'll take Julian Edelman in the rings, and football people were not happy with that decision.
I agreed with you. Michael Irvin agreed with you. Well, agreed with us, and then agreed with you through us.
It's a great tweet, though, guys.
Yes, but, I said I got Super Bowl rings. I can tell the history of the NFL, but I need Julian Edelman to tell the history of the NFL, right?
Yes.
Calvin Johnson, the only thing I will tell in the history of the NFL that deals with him is completing the process of a catch.
That's a shame, but that's
it. I mean,
that's his footnote.
Wonderful career. If money was equal and it was just about the numbers you put up or talent, I'd still go with Julian Edelman. He won Super Bowls, had 2 of the most iconic plays in the history of the Super Bowl.
Julian Edelman is the second leading receiver in career receptions in the postseason behind Jerry Rice. That kind of stat, to me, is something that I'll put up in high regard. Now, Calvin Johnson's got the individual statistics we can debate about all day long, and football fans are so angry about it, but I cherish the hardware, and the rings, to me, are what matters. Julian Edelman's on the cusp of winning a 3rd one this weekend. All
right, the commissioner's going to have a State of the Union address. What do you expect to happen when it comes to the topic of the New Orleans Saints and the LA Rams?
I think people are outraged that, he hasn't come out and done a press conference beforehand. He's going to come out today. He's going to address it. And here's what I tell Saints fans. The toothpaste is out of the tube. There's no going back. Like, they're not going to replay it. So what do you want from Goodell? What do you want to hear? What I think he's going to say is that we're going to look in the offseason. We're going to try to address the replay officials and the review. And you had Cameron Jordan here. I feel for Saints players. I feel for Sean Payton. I feel for Saints fans. But this is part of the game. It's human error. And I think Roger Goodell's going to go up there and say, we're going to look at everything we can do. But I also want him to kind of take a hard line here and say, it's not changing. Like, this is what it is. And if you're a fan of the Rams, you feel discredited this week and last week because all you're hearing about is the Saints. And I know those Rams players. I know those Rams coaches. They've had just about enough talking about a missed call when Drew Brees had the ball in overtime. That team was up 13-0 at home, and they had 4 possessions in the fourth quarter and in OT and scored 3 points. Rams people, they've had just enough about this missed call. Go get the job done at home.
Yeah, I'm there with you because I can look at that call, and yes, it did prevent the Saints, but the Saints had these opportunities. The Saints didn't play a good game. And I give credit to the Rams for being resilient. You did what you're supposed to do in overtime. You stopped them and got the ball. Kansas City is not here because they didn't stop Tom Brady. If you get to overtime, that's why they have a coin toss. It is a coin toss if you're going to win or not. I don't want to change overtime because overtime worked in New Orleans. We have a problem in Kansas City because the Patriots took advantage of it. If Kansas City wins the toss, goes down and scores a touchdown, nobody's saying, well, we got to revamp overtime.
Absolutely right. If people wanted to see Mahomes, it was like, give me that Mahomes one more time. No, sorry. Make a stop. 3rd and 10, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9. Stop them once, you get Mahomes.
But why don't you think the commissioner just came out and said what you said and said it right away? You don't have to apologize. You're the commissioner. This is your fan base. You want them to know you stand up and you're going to be in front and center. And just say, hey, look, I'll sit down on the mothership or the NFL Network, and I will address this. That's all.
It's a great question, and I'm not a PR executive. I don't know how these statements get released. I don't know when they get released. I do think he'll address it head on today. I think he'll have a prepared statement, and it'll be fine. But I also think when you start talking about this stuff without a few hours to digest, without a few hours to compare, people are an angry mob. Now we're a week removed. He can address it. He can say, we're going to talk about it in the owners' meetings in March, and we'll go from there. But in the hours after that play and the days after that play, it's all anyone want to talk about. And Goodell, he was smart on this one, I think. Let's wait till Super Bowl. Cooler heads will prevail, and I'll address it there.
Well, I'd gotten a heads up. This is the day before, maybe 2 days before. I said, you know what? I'd keep an eye on Nickel Roby-Coleman getting fined for the helmet-to-helmet. And then I thought, if that happens, then the topic continues. He gets fined for the helmet-to-helmet. And, the outrage has died down a little bit. But I do think that the Saints deserve just at least, don't tell privately Sean Payton, hey, we effed up. Like, why privately?
That was the thing. When he came out, his first comment was, I spoke to Vinovich already.
Yes.
Yeah, Vinovich hasn't spoken. We had Vinovich on our show on NFL Network. Not Vinovich, I'm sorry. We spoke to Al Riveron, who's the head of the officials. He came on after the divisional round because there was a lot of controversy in some of the calls in the Chargers and Ravens. And he's like, I'll face the music. I'll come right on. You can ask me any play. We did. He didn't come on our show after that game with the Saints and the Rams. And it's not that I think he's hiding, but I think on such a stage and such a level.
Well, he's probably told not to come on.
I don't think it's in anyone's best interest to address that in a public setting without all the messaging completely buttoned up.
And I look at that play. We're talking to Peter Schrager, the NFL Network. Good Morning Football. I look at the play, and I wonder if you just have – my suggestion was I have another official who's in the stadium. And his job is just to keep the officials on the field honest, just to help them. And that is, if you see something that's egregious, or if you want to just do it in the last 2 minutes of a game or the last 2 minutes of each half, whatever it is, protect your product. Protect those officials. It's the hardest sport to officiate.
So difficult.
Even though that official's right there and that play is right in front of you, and don't have all-star groups. Don't have an all-star.
Give me the crew who's working week 3 in Cincinnati. It's fine. If they know each other, let's work with each other.
Because I wouldn't want an all-star group of Danettes.
You're right.
I would want my Danettes.
Yes.
But I'm comfortable with them. Mm-hmm. And if you were on my team, week in and week out, and you said to me, hey, Bill, come here. Let's huddle up here. I trust you as my teammate, as an official. You're going to protect me.
Because we did games week 1, week 10. We go to dinner on Friday night. We know each other Saturday.
Yes.
Like there's a camaraderie there. In the heat of the moment, if you don't know that guy. Here's one thing I will say, though. There was a report from Adam Schefter, who I respect to the utmost ability, and that I think he's the greatest that does this with Glazer, right? And Rappaport, there's those guys who are the insiders. His report over the weekend.
But you don't steal their stuff.
I would never steal their stuff. That's called plagiarism.
Okay,
this is just whatever.
Fair enough. All right.
The report was that 4 of the officials were from the state of California, and people were looking into it. That's when I say, okay, time out here. These guys have been working 25 years in the league. Do you think they had a long play? I'm going to get into officiating. I'm going to wait for the Rams to move to St. Louis. Then the St. Louis Rams are going to move back to L.A. And then I'm going to call more penalties against the Rams than the Saints that entire game. But But with a minute left in the fourth quarter after they ran the ball and then threw the ball to Michael Thomas, I am then going to not throw a flag. Not even throw a flag that was wrong. Not throw a flag because then I'll get my sweet revenge and the Rams will go to the Super Bowl. That's ridiculous.
Well, Ed Hockley is from Wisconsin.
Sure.
Like, I never thought, man, I don't know, that call against the Packers, it's gotten to that point, it's too far. Everybody is from somewhere. And,
yes.
So...
Remember, though, they had the replacement refs and they had photos on Facebook of the guy who's like wearing a Saints jersey calling the Saints game. That's a little different. Like, love Drew Brees.
If the Rams win this weekend...
Yeah. ... It's McVay's world. You know, I did a sit down with him that's going to air on NFL Network on Sunday, but I did it on Friday, and I got to spend a lot of time with him. And I know the guy pretty well on a personal level, and you'd think that he lives this Hollywood lifestyle. Like, he's going out with Gigi Hadid, and he's hanging out at the clubs, and he's at Hyde. He's the most boring dude you could imagine. He loves football. I hung out with him on the bye week, and it was after that Chiefs-Rams game. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting the Sean McVay experience. We're going to go to the Soho House. Like, and he's like, do you want to watch Cardinals-Bears film? I'm like, no. But I think if this dude beats Belichick at 33 years old and Belichick's 66 years old, if he beats him, get ready for an offseason of McVay. And I'm curious to see what kind of global superstar he will be. Because in our football world, he's a hot shot. Everyone loves him. He's great. But we're talking Ellen Show. We're talking movie cameos. Like, LA will explode if they've got a 33-year-old hotshot coach, and I'm curious to see what happens if he wins.
The coverage if Brady loses another Super Bowl or if Brady wins another, I don't know if it matters if he wins and, does it change anything in, the pantheon of great athletes? Oh, is he above Jordan? Yeah. But if he loses another one, now we're sort of in the LeBron James area where we start to look and go, yeah, but he lost 4 Super Bowls here.
We have this debate we do a 3-hour football show in March and April and June. The Brady-Montana debate's got some tread on the tires, I'll say that. But the Montana apologists will say this: 4-0, 16 touchdowns in Super Bowls, 0 interceptions. Never threw a pick in a Super Bowl and was flawless, 4 for 4. If Brady goes 5 of 9, the appearances are what matters, I think. 9 times, all that stuff. But 5 of 9 versus 4 of 4 is a very interesting debate.
Where do you stand on it?
I think in this day and age of parity and how many teams there are, and there's 32 and there's free agency, I think what they have done and to get to 9 Super Bowls is the hardest achievement. I think what Brady has done in this era where every year it's a new NFC team, and yet here we are, Patriots in the AFC. I think that's the highest accomplishment.
And I'm right there with you because the same thing with LeBron. Okay, Mike was 6-0 in NBA Finals. Got it. But you got to get there. And for LeBron to get there. Now, we look at LeBron sort of the way with, Brady. You're in a bad division. Or, it's easy to get in with the AFC East here. All of these things that we look.
You start searching.
Did anybody look at what Michael Jordan was going through when they go, you went through a lame.
The Milwaukee Bucks, Blue Edwards wasn't stopping you. Yeah.
But it feels like we just put up these hurdles, these imaginary hurdles to say, well, the AFC East sucks. Okay, that's not Brady's fault. He can't say, on second thought, I got to go through a tougher division. Like, can you put me in the North?
Yeah.
And so it feels like no matter what Brady does, we're going to try to find something to chip away at him because you had Montana here and you have the old guard that holds on to Montana and the old guard holds on to Michael Jordan.
Yep.
And I think that's what happens. I see similarities with Brady and LeBron with how we view the number of times, but also the losses stand out more than the victories do. And that's not fair to them.
I thought last week's AFC Championship win was a really important win for his legacy because they have been favored in 67 straight games. 67 straight games, and they played this underdog card that was nauseating.
And they're still trying to do it.
It's nauseating. They're favored in the game,
I know.
They're underdogs. No one believes in us. Everyone believes in you.
We're still here.
Yeah, we're still here. I'm like, yeah, I know. Can't avoid you. And yet, that game, they were underdogs. They were on the road. They had to answer the call, and Mahomes was amazing. Mahomes scored 31 points on 32 offensive plays in the second half, and it wasn't enough. I thought that was an awesome win.
Against Belichick, who makes all of the adjustments.
Mahomes was perfect in the second half,
Yeah.
and it wasn't enough because Brady was that good. I thought last week's game was important for the legacy, and you can use that against Montana.
He's not a thief. He's our friend. He's
Yeah.
Peter Schrager from the NFL Network. Good Morning Football co-host, also FoxSports.com senior national writer, and you can see the interview with Sean McVay. That will be on Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8.5 hours pregame show.
Yippee!
Yeah. 9 hours would be too much. 8.5 is
We're not
just
going to do
enough.
overkill.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
8.5 hours.
Do you have a prediction?
I do. I think the Rams are winning.
Really?
I do. High scoring. Whoa! Picked one of the teams. I think the Rams win. I think it's going to be a bit of a shootout, too. I feel like McVay and McDaniels is the underrated superstar of the Super Bowl. Everyone loves Belichick, McVay. McDaniels is a dog, and that guy can draw up an offense, and I think they're going to put up a ton of yards, too. But I'm going with McVay and Goff. Young guard beats old guard in a beauty.
Yes, McLeod.
That's weird. I thought Peter would wait for you to make your pick and then just take it.
Yeah.
Probably.
Could always change it.
If you sat down with Belichick instead of McVay, would you
Patriots
be
win
taking
by
the
30.
I love that.
Easily swayed.
You're a true journalist.
That's it.
Peter, thank you for coming by.
I love coming
Being
on.
a
You
great
guys are the
sport.
best.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.